important that as a student of the society, you know where to go when you have an issue at hand. And at the topmost of the apex, or the apex court we call in Nigeria, is the Supreme Court. And that court is the highest. Now, when you have a case, I don't know, I think I should run it from the lowest. I should run it from the lowest so that it will follow, you will understand it better if I run it from the lowest to the highest, so that you will conveniently understand. So take it from the bottom if you have the material with you. So I'm back to the district courts. Now, the district courts exist in some states, and actually they are supposed to exist in our rural communities. District courts are the courts that have limited jurisdiction. They can only entertain certain cases, and they are courts that we call them courts of oral jurisdiction, where in your villages or in our villages, when you have a case, you can approach the court yourself and find out. You can approach the court yourself and make your case there. And you don't really need lawyers to represent you in district court per se, because it's expected that it's something we should easily be in touch with. So they exist in some states. But in many cases now, in many places now, district courts are no longer in existence. They exist in form of magistrate. They are submerged into magistrate courts. So the magistrate courts are the courts that we are much more familiar with. Now, we have magistrate courts situated in our villages, in our local governments, in the town. And they are also courts of limited jurisdiction. What I mean by limited jurisdiction is that they don't have the powers to handle all cases. One of the examples is capital criminal offenses. Magistrate courts don't have the power to handle such cases. They can handle matrimonial cases. They can handle minor criminal offenses, like maybe somebody stole something. You can come to magistrate court, they can entertain. But when it comes to capital criminal offenses like rape, cases like a criminal armed robbery, cases like murder, they can hardly handle, they are not allowed to handle. That's why when people are standing trial for, say, culpable homicide, which is murder, and they are arraigned. First of all, they will arraign them at the magistrate court. That is, they will bring them to magistrate court. But when they bring them to magistrate court, the magistrate court will say that they can only remand them at the correctional center while the procedure is being handled to take them to the high court for proper trial. Now, so the magistrate courts are the courts that only have some limited jurisdiction to handle. Now, what happens in terms of hierarchy is that when somebody bring a case at the magistrate courts and the person is not satisfied with the decision that is taken, he can appeal against such a case in the high courts. So the high courts have a bigger jurisdiction. Now, in the high courts have original jurisdiction in certain cases like land disputes. They also have original jurisdiction in cases like capital offenses, like I've been mentioning, civil and criminal. They have original jurisdiction in many cases, except some qualified, or can I say some classified cases that will be looking at the court and we are going. But appeal can rise from magistrate court to high court. I'm leaving out some specialized courts. I'll come back to them, like Sharia and customary court. I'll come back to them. I want to run the ranking from the normal cases that we have. So normal cases can originate at the magistrate court or at the district or area courts. From there, they can go on appeal to High Court. The High Court are the first court that hear appeal. It's not from area to magistrate, no. Magistrate and area courts, their appeals go to High Courts. That is, if you go there and the decision of the court, you are not happy with it, you can take your cases to High Court. Whereas the High Court now assume original jurisdiction in capital criminal offenses and things like landed dispute. People have landed disputes. Somebody comes to encroach on your land and dispute of title, you can approach the High Court and other courts. Now, from High Courts, if you are dissatisfied, you can now go to Court of Appeal. I want you to take note because I'm leaving some courts in between. I'll come back to them. You will not go to Federal High Court. From High Court, you are going to Court of Appeal. That's the way the thing runs. From Magistrate Court to High Court, if it's on appeal, then from High Court to Court of Appeal, from Court of Appeal to Supreme Court, which is the last. That is if you are going for appeal. And you have the right to go from run all these appeals. If you have the resources and the time and the energy, you can do it to the very end. The essence of appeal is that sometimes what one person may make a mistake, the next level, usually at appeal, judges don't sit alone. There are like two. At the High Court, at least there are two. At Court of Appeal, there are more. At Supreme Court, there are at least 7. Because that is the last court humanly in Nigeria. So it is expected that at least 7 people sitting together should be able to come up with what is not biased and what is, substantial and what can stand. So the Supreme Court becomes the highest court in the land. And if it gets there, and even if the judgment is given in error by your own judgment, you just have to take it the way it is. Only God that can reverse that one, because humanly speaking, there's nothing you can do. But then the Court of Appeal has some cases that it entertains in original jurisdiction. What I mean by original jurisdiction is that this is the court that has the right to hear such cases first. And such cases are, things like election petitions of governors and the Senate. These ones is Court of Appeal that entertains them. It cannot start at the High Court. It can only start at the Court of Appeal. And then the presidential election is the Supreme Court that has the only jurisdiction to hear them. So from the tribunal, this is the only place this thing can go. It cannot pass through appeal, Court of Appeal before going there. So this is the ranking of the court in Nigeria. Now, when you come to Federal High Court, that's number 3 on the list. Federal High Court is a kind of a specialized court. It has original jurisdiction to hear certain cases that cannot go to any other court. One of it is the cases that involve the federal government agencies. Where you have a conflict with a federal government agency, you can't take it to High Court. You can't take it to Court of Appeal in original jurisdiction. You can only go to Federal High Court. For example, maybe your child wrote JAMB and there's a problem with it and you want to sue JAMB. You cannot sue JAMB in High Court because JAMB is a federal government agency. So you have a problem against EFCC. You didn't like the way they prosecuted your case. You can only sue at the Federal High Court. You have a problem even with the Nigerian police or the Nigerian army, or let's say any of the federal ministries or federal parastatals or federal agencies. This is the only court that you can first go to. But when you go there and you are not satisfied, you can proceed to Court of Appeal, you can proceed to Supreme Court. But as for the original jurisdiction to hear the cases first, you can only go to Federal High Court if it's an issue that involves a federal government agency in Nigeria. You can't take it to any other court first. It has to be Federal High Court. Then from Federal High Court, it goes to Appeal, it goes to Supreme Court. Now, number 4 on the list, talk about National Industrial Court. It's also a specialized court that deals with issues of labor, employment, and real issues. Your termination in the workplace, you consider it as being illegal, you cannot go to high court. You can only go to National Industrial Court. Somebody who has retired and his pensions are not being paid, he cannot. Maybe you are aggrieved at the position that was taken against you, maybe in the course of a panel that was set to investigate you at workplace, and the outcome, you didn't like it. So if you don't like the outcome, the only place you can go to National Industrial Court. So it deals with trade dispute issues, employment issues of welfare at work. You know, all of these specialized courts are created so that issues that are in these categories can be addressed directly from this court, and it will, you know, save the system from delays. Because if imagine that your employment is terminated illegally, and you have to go and root this thing right from the magistrate court. From magistrate court, you are going to high court. From high court, you are going to court of appeal. From court of appeal to Supreme Court. Some people may even have died along the way because maybe you are already out of your job and you are stressed up and you lack resources, and it's impacting negatively on your it's impacting negatively on your livelihood. Okay, I think this person that just came up, Ahemi, you can off your mic because we can hear you at stopping the class. So from there, so some of the specialized courts are now created so that it will take off the undue delays that are usually noticed. Undue delays that are usually noticed in our regular courts. So now when you come to number 6, there's a court there called the Sharia Court of Appeal. And then beneath it, you also have Customary Court of Appeal. Now we omitted the Sharia Court itself. Sharia Court is in the category of magistrate court. They operate only in Islamic states where they practice Sharia. And their Sharia courts are created to entertain cases that have to do with religious and cultural issues of Sharia practice. And when people are dissatisfied from these controversies, they can appeal to Sharia Court of Appeal, Sharia Court of Appeal. It's only entertaining cases that are arising from Sharia courts. Now, when you look at your number 7 talks about Customary Court of Appeal. Customary Court of Appeal also, there is a version of it that is called the Customary Courts. It's also in the category of the Magistrate Court. But this one now particularly deals with issues of custom in the areas where issues of tradition, issues of custom, issues of practices, in areas where it is a non-Sharia state like ours. Now, if people, let's say, contracted a marriage under the custom, you know, marriages are done, there are marriages that are statutory, there are customary marriages under the custom, and there's a problem with it. Now, if you take such cases to a conventional court, it will be difficult for them to deal with those issues of custom. But where such cases are taken to customary court is being managed by people that are very well versed in the custom of that particular area. Now, if you come to Benue State, we have the 3 major languages that operate in the state. Our customary courts are manned by people we call assessors, people that are very well versed in this custom, such that when an issue comes up that has to do with custom, they are able to interpret correctly, they are able to give proper meaning to all that is required. So from there, if people now are dissatisfied with the decision of the customary court, they can approach the Customary Court of Appeal for a review, for an appeal, so that the matter can be looked into again at the level of review. So basically, and the issue of the ranking of our courts is also brought in here so that it gives you an idea of knowing where to go when your rights are violated or when you have need of an interpretation of the law. Because as a stakeholder, you need to be properly educated on where to go, because you can just prepare all your case and go and file in the wrong court. And given some of the delays that accompany our courts in Nigeria, it may take some time, but before you know, it will be thrown out because it is filed wrongly. Where cases are filed wrongly, they can be struck out because that court will lack jurisdiction to hear such cases. So it will amount to waste of time, waste of money and energy. And some people get discouraged at the end. They may don't want to go down the lane again, all the way preparing and going again. So it's important for us to know, as people that are in the society, you may come across somebody that is stressed up over an issue. Now, you will even be able to guide the person correctly where to go and approach which courts and where he can go, and the kind of remedy, what he is capable of getting if he go to some of the courts that are available. So all these courts are lined up for us to understand how the Nigerian judiciary works. And let me also add and this one is not there, but now when you talk about the Nigerian judiciary, and the Nigerian legal system has two components as far as the issue of adjudication is concerned. The judiciary is the mother of prosecution and adjudication in the Nigerian legal system. You have the bar. Now, in the bar, you have what you call the private bar. You also have what you call the official bar. The private bar is the lawyers, it's made up of lawyers that are practicing in the private practice, who own chambers or who are partners in chambers, whom you can consult, whom you can engage to take up your matter. They are the private bar. Now, the official bar is made up of lawyers that are employed by the government, that work in places like Ministry of Justice, both state and federal Ministry of Justice, agencies like Human Rights Commission. The lawyers are employed by government, and places like and even federal government parastatals like hospitals that have legal units, even the universities that have the legal department or legal units that employ lawyers to particularly handle cases that concern those organizations alone. They are called the official bar. So the one you cannot engage them for your private affair. And when it comes to the private bar, you can engage them. These other ones are taken up by the government. They are paid by the government. So they can only take up cases that are, affect those their employers. They cannot go and do private practice and they take up cases. So these are the two components of the Nigerian judiciary and the issue of adjudication as far as concerned: the bench and the bar. And the bench is the judiciary, which I have already outlined the courts, the hierarchy of courts, and the people that man these courts are the judges. At the magistrate level, they are called the magistrates. From the High Court down to Court of Appeal, down to National Industrial Court, down to Supreme Court, down to Federal High Court, all of them are called judges. And the ones that are manning the magistrate courts and the area courts and the district court, these ones are called magistrates. They are part of the bench and they are in the judiciary. While the bar, you have the private bar, you have the official bar, so that it guides you on who you will also contact when you have an issue. If you're an employee of a place and the place has a legal department, if you have an issue that concerns your organization, you can approach the legal department and seek their input, or your head of the organization can reach out to either state or federal Ministry of Justice to secure the services of the state council or the councils there to handle the issue. But where there's a legal department in the ministry or the parastatal, they can be approached. That is at the official capacity. But even if you're an employee and you have a personal matter, you can approach the people that are in the private bar, because at that point they are dealing with you in your own personal capacity, not in the official capacity. So they cannot handle your issues outside of that. So that's that about the judiciary in Nigeria and its impact on our societies. So I don't know if there's any question at that level, any clarification or any contribution from the class. If you have any contradiction or something you've not understood before, or have not even touched on as far as the judiciary is concerned, you can ask your question now. Is there any question or anything somebody has to say on this before we move to the legislature?
Okay, thank you so much, Ma, for this level of enlightenment. Like with the lecture that we have had with you today so far, it has actually brought a lot of enlightenment to me because with the explanation you give concerning certain courts, it's help one when one has maybe an issue to direct it to the appropriate courts. Because when one is not knowledgeable about this, the person will end up spending so much money before he gets to the right court he's supposed to channel his issue or her issue to. So this enlightenment is actually a good one for me. It has opened my eyes to really understand because I know all these court exist, but before now I don't know the difference why this court exists. But with the understanding I've gotten now, every particular matter has a particular court you are to address it to. And if you are not satisfied, and then you move it to the appeal court, and then it goes up like that to the Supreme Court. So thank you so much, Ma, for this course and the clarity.
Okay, thank you. Any other person that has a question or an issue to say?
Good morning, Ma. Good morning, class.
Yes, and Joseph, good morning.
Thank you. I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
You see, people have issued and they go to court and maybe the high court and they rule in favor, let's say they rule in favor of Mr. A.
Yes.
And Mr. A said, no, I will appeal, and he go to appeal court. And somehow appeal court now rule in favor of Mr. B. So my question now, is it that the people in the high court, is it their negligence or incompetence that make them not to judge it well, or what is the reason for that?
Okay. All right. That also means that you are keenly following the happenings around the society. Yes. And that is exactly why the courts are created and opportunity for appeals are given. It's just like what happens at home. Okay, let's look at the home structure, for example. First of all, know that these judges are also humans. That's one. And the law is subject to interpretation. That's why one of the major role of the judiciary is to interpret the law. The law is made by the legislature. It's sent to the judiciary to interpret. Now, when you go to court, you also observe that there are two lawyers in one case. One is on the side of A, the other is on the side of B. They are all arguing one thing, and everybody is giving a different meaning to what is going on. Now, it only tells you that these people hold different opinions over the same thing. And it's not because of negligence. It's the way one of the judges has perceived the law to have applied. Now, let's look at what classical example can I give? Okay, yes. Now, somebody maybe committed armed robbery, and is brought before the courts. Now, because of the human nature, maybe one of the judges there is somebody that had suffered armed robbery before, was attacked by armed robbers before. There's this human tendency that even the weight of evidence is, has not tilted to the side that he would have convicted that person. His mind is affected by the experience that he had. These are realities. He's affected by the experience that he had. So he's judging based on the evidence before him, but he's somehow affected. Eventually, he gives a judgment and he sentences this person, and the sentence is bigger than what this person would have earned based on the evidence that is before him. Judgment is actually given based on the evidence that is before the courts, before the judge. Now, when this happens, and maybe the lawyer or the parties in that got judgment against them now approach a higher court. Maybe the higher court, the people that are sitting in the higher court, their minds are clearer. Their judgment are not clouded, their minds are clearer. So eventually, there's a way they give their own judgments with a clearer mind or with a purer mind. So that's one instance. Another could just be that this is the way this person felt is the right way to go. But if the matter goes further, another person may look at it the other way, and then the judgment will take another turn. That's why at least you have 3 levels of appeal, or 4 in some instances. Or the person didn't examine the evidence very well, or didn't apply the law very well. Or it could just be that he was affected by one thing or the other. Now, a higher court may look at it, and remember I said that once the matter gets to appeal, it's no longer one person that presides over appeal. The minimum has to be 2 if the appeals are going to high court for appeal. So it has to be 2. So these 2 people are able to put their heads together and look at the issues, in a more detailed perspective. They come up with an issue. Maybe the matter goes to from high court appeal to court of appeal proper. And the judges, maybe they are sitting, they are 3 or they are 5. At that level, they have to sit in odd numbers, because the higher number of judges that agree on a certain perspective becomes the judgment. So they always sit in odd numbers. From there, they go to Supreme Court, which they may now sit 7 or 9. So if it is 9 and 5 people agree on a certain view, even if the 4 see it the other way, the 5 will take the day. So the whole idea is that the system we are working with is not a supernatural system, and people are also human. So sometimes the human factor of non-correct interpretation comes in, or an interference. And sometimes also, let me also say, sometimes the attitude of the person that is standing trial can affect the mind of the judge too. Sometimes you are just being unruly, or you are just being careless in handling your case and all. It affects his mind too. So the way you conduct yourself in court too matters. You are being disrespectful, in as much as he's not supposed to give his judgment based on those kind of attachments, but the fact that it's a human, and your conduct can also affect the mind of the court. So it's important. So these are some of the factors that account for that. That it's not deliberately out of negligence, but factors can come in. Somebody may not even be in the right frame of mind, because we are humans, and may just act in a certain way, So these are just the factors. No judge is deliberately expected to look the other way. Yes, people accuse judges of collecting monies and giving judgment in favor of people, but I can't speak on that, because I've never given any judge money Oh, I'm not also on the bench, so I can't speak on that, but you know, it's actually a human system, so a lot of things can happen. I can only see that. All right, any other
Thank you so much,
question?
Ma, for the detailed explanation.
Okay. All right, so is there any other clarification needed before we proceed? Okay, so in the absence of that, you know, we are looking at the law-related agencies that also have their impact on the society as we interact with them. At least we are dealing with law and the society. So law cannot do without the judiciary, cannot do without the bar. Now we see where their role comes in and it guides us on what to do. So we look at the legislature, who are the makers of the law themselves. So the legislature that, as we know, as at this level of study, they have the major role of making laws. And in making laws, we have the National Assembly, we have the state houses of assembly, we even have our local government legislative houses that are in the role, in the, you know, in the job of making laws for us. Now, their various functions are to make laws for peace, order, and good governance of a country. They also represent our interests. They are supposed to carry our interests as their constituents to the various houses where they where they are operating and present our own interests at that level. Now they have oversight functions. We've seen where sometimes state house of assembly or National Assembly comes in to probe in an issue, you know. So it is one of their functions. They have a function of budgeting or approving budgets. Yes, or monitoring budget implementation. They also can advise and consent, you know, give consent. They have the role to investigate, that is, do inquiries on matters of public interest. They can also impeach the governor, the president, the vice, and other public officers for misconduct. They can ratify even bills that come to them. They have to ratify them before it's sent to the executive for assent. They approve appointment, they screen, they scrutinize appointees of government to ensure that they've done a check, to do a proper background check to ensure there's compliance in the various rules of appointments. They also do debates on national issues. They also are supposed to present a platform for people to submit memorandums and make their inputs in times of lawmaking, in times of amendments, in times of, you know. So what is the role? It's not just enough for us to know the function of this. How do they, you know, impact our society by their own rules? Naturally, these are our lawmakers. Now, the kind of laws that are made, they are the ones that determine what happens in every society. And if you see the way our society tilts towards, is tilting in the direction of the laws that are made. So in shaping the society, our legislators are very major key stakeholders in law, issues of law and the society. Now, sometimes it's a bit worrisome when you pick a copy of the law and it's as if it's something that was just adopted from some other jurisdiction and just imposed on another jurisdiction. It can be very worrisome because actually, even if you are importing a legislation, you are expected as a legislature to situate that legislation in your own jurisdiction. Every jurisdiction has a peculiar challenge. Now, if you look at the issue of Matrimonial Causes Act, for example. That's a law that deals with issues of marriages, issues of dissolution of marriages, issues of entitlements in marriage, issues of divorce, separation, custody of children. Now, if you say go and pick what's obtainable in, say, US or in the UK, and you simply come to dump it on the Nigerian community, there will be a lot of chaos. Because the way a Nigerian perceives the marriage institution is not the same way an American does. In America, a man can just rise up and marry another man, and it's considered to be a legally binding marriage. But up till now, for us, we believe in the marriage of a man and a woman in our Nigerian law. Nigerian law has not legislated on the issue of marriages between men and women and women. So now, if our legislators or the legislative houses are careful the way they import and situate the law in such a way that it agrees with what is obtainable in our society, because every society has a dimension. Every society has its core values. It has what is acceptable. It has what is agreeable. It has what is healthy for its growth. So in legislating, the role of the legislator becomes very, very key in situating the law and manipulating the law to impact the society. It can impact the society negatively. Imagine that the Child Rights Act that is in operation in the UK is brought and completely just superimposed on the Nigerian law. All that you can see immediately is that you will no longer be permitted to beat your child. So whatever he does. Okay, please, if you are joining the class, you should put off your mic, please. Okay, so when such a thing happens, such a law comes into place, you now quickly realize that the extent of that the Child Rights Act operates in those jurisdictions of the world is completely not in agreement with our values as Nigerians. So if our legislators are not careful to scrutinize the laws, and maybe they just import it and they superimpose without looking and linking it to the values of our society in the nation, it can really cause chaos. I have seen instances where some Nigerians who are living, say, in the US or in the UK, had reason to send their children back home to come and school in Nigeria so they could acquire discipline. Because you cannot beat your child. It's against the law in those jurisdictions. And the child has rights very early. In fact, in some jurisdictions, it's so crazy that social workers are going around schools, finding out from children whether somebody is shouting at them at home, whether their parents are yelling at them, or whether somebody is beating them. And before you know, these children are taken away from such people. And their societies keep degenerating. And in some of these jurisdictions, you quickly realize that maybe social workers or other organizations that are agitating for LGBTQ are going about in schools and educating children and teaching them how they have the right to change their sex. If you are a lady, if you are a girl, they ask you, who told you that you are a girl? And you have the right to become a boy. And the law is solidly behind them. So in such instances, the role of the legislators, now you are wondering, when they were legislating on these issues, were they really looking at the impact of these issues on the society at all? So in all the functions of the legislator, their key role in shaping the society with the instrument of the law is they have the rights from the very beginning to pass laws that are agreeable and can add value to our society. And if they fail at that point, the society can really degenerate very fast. And it will impact everybody negatively. You know, where certain things are gotten wrong right from the time of legislation, it is difficult to get it correct at some higher level. So when we are electing our legislators, the onus or the burden is on us to know the quality of legislator we are sending to the houses and national houses of the houses of assemblies. Because whatever they enact there becomes what we are going to live with, and our own children are going to live with. And ideally, on a normal day, our legislators are supposed to be accountable to us. They are supposed to report back to us that elected them, so that we scrutinize some of the laws that they are passing and make inputs. And in fact, before they make these laws, they're supposed to send it to their constituencies for inputs. Although this also doesn't always happen, and it has also affected the constituents to a level that I'm not sure people are careful to even follow the debates that go on our assemblies. And I think I want to challenge us as students of the society at this point that we must be very careful about the laws that are going on, because I've seen instances where at the level of readings of bills that are going at levels of readings, I have seen where the Nigerian society rose up, agitated, demonstrated. You know, there was a time they were almost passing a gay law in Nigeria. But the civil societies and the various groups agitated and, you know, stood up against such, and the matter died down. If not by now, if that law was ever passed, I can assure you that by now, God forbid, but our children, our brothers, our sisters will get up and go and bring a man. A man will go and bring a man and they will marry. Because so long as the law is passed, it's already legal. And you cannot do anything about it so long as they are full adults. There's nothing you can do about it. You will see a lady will get up and say that she's in love with another lady, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So it's a burden on us not to keep quiet when we notice, and it calls for us to be vigilant when some of these laws are going. And somebody may ask that, but I'm not a member of the National Assembly, I'm not a member of the State House of Assembly, so how do I come in? How you could come in is when we practically agitate. First of all, is to take interest in what is happening on the floor of the House. And then, you know, pull forces to agitate against laws that are going through debates that are going on, to be able to push our own inputs into it before they are signed into law. Because the moment a law is assented to by the president or by the governor, it becomes a full-fledged law. And the only thing any other person can do is to interpret that law. And where that happens, in societies where we are seeing a lot of things that we don't even like, it started at the level of legislation. That's why we see when Donald Trump came in, the only way he could also tamper with the issues of LGBTQ and the rest of same-sex marriages was to sign in executive bills, you know, executive orders, because it's another law that's coming in to counter the existing law or to reduce its effects. This has been passed into law. So you needed to sign in executive, send in executive orders, which is another law to be able to counter the extent of the damage that these other laws were making. So it's important for us to take note and let it not be that any one of us will say, there's nothing I can do, so I don't even care whatever happened. And some people also feel that that's why you are in the society. And that's why we have civil society organizations who also come together to push their position. And many times, their positions make impact, and it goes a long way in helping what our legislators are doing. Sometimes we hear allegations of, yes, they gave them money, but like I said, I'm not a member of House of Assembly. I cannot say if they actually collected money or not, but we hear such things. And when we hear such things, well, except we substantiate, we don't have the liberty to authoritatively speak into it. The way such happens, and sometimes you wonder why certain bills are going through, they are succeeding, irrespective of all that is happening. So I think at the level of the legislature too, we are not here to discuss their roles in details, but we are here to understand their roles and how they interact with the law to impact the society. So I think that has been established, and we can move to executive arm of government, except there's a question or there's an input from the class. Let's talk. I always appreciate a class that participates. I don't want to be here alone. So if you are there, you can make your impact. You are also responsible members of the society, and you are interacting with what is happening. If a contribution can be an eye-opening to us, you can also add to our knowledge of what we already know. So is there anything on that before we move to the executive?
I have something to say.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask, and since the laws that is being made affect the citizen of an entire country, whether if the legislator understands the custom and the norms of the Nigerian virus society or not. So I'm thinking, is it possible that before such laws are made, like maybe if there is a provision where people from the society, like traditional rulers that are custodian of the norms and the custom, like if they can be part of these stages where laws are being made, and also the judges, so that it will help in having a better society, because whatever they do there, except for an executive order that comes from the president, it will just go down, and then everybody either enjoys it, benefit from it, or it becomes an issue to deal with, which can also lead to emotional issues as well, like psychological issues. Like you were talking about the gay rights, if it was established, it would have affected parents looking at their children. For instance, a male bringing a male that he wants to get married to the person, and then maybe the person was raised in a sound doctrine of his religion, and then the parents will have to deal with this thing his entire life, since he cannot really do anything about it because of the law, except if the person were engaging, maybe praying for that particular child.
Oh, wow. Okay, so your proposal is for the people that are versed in the customs to be part of this lawmaking process, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, that's fine. But, going back, that's the reason why our representatives are drawn from our communities. And on a normal day, our representatives are supposed to be part of, supposed to be in touch with their constituencies so that they can draw feelers from their constituents on what are the demands, what are their agitations, You know, in other jurisdictions, these things happen. You have the right even to send a personal memoranda to your representative at the House of Assembly, at the national, yes, any of the houses of the assembly. These processes don't completely follow around us here because of what exactly do I blame that for? Is it lack of knowledge on the part of the constituents, or the fact that the legislators themselves don't even carry the constituents along, or lack of, can I say, electoral education? People don't really know that they're supposed to be part of it. And because these people are already elected and the legislature go in by election. So you cannot expect a traditional ruler or somebody who is coming from the community directly to go and begin to sit on the floor of an assembly. But he can send his own inputs. And I think that one of the things we can do is that civil society organizations, even the traditional institutions, may have to wake up by calling their people together to educate them and guide them on how they can channel their input to national assemblies. And we can begin to hold our assembly members responsible for, you know, when we send in our contributions, and then we are not seeing the impact in the laws that are being made. It's important that we begin to hold them accountable, because they are coming from constituencies, and it is expected that they should be in touch with their constituencies and make their own mark, you know, carry them along and carry their feelings along when these legislations are going on. Okay, is there any other person? I hope other members are around too, because this one now serves as your contribution, your questions is an indication that you are present in class. And the absence of that is also an indication that you logged on and you are somewhere else. You are not around. And you know, you have to meet up with a certain percentage of attendance, in as much as it is virtual. We have a way of gauging who is in the class and who is not there. So we are going to the executive arm of government. Now the executive.
Hello, ma.
Yes. Who is up?
Sorry, it's Joseph. I was raising my hand, but
okay, Joseph. Okay, I didn't see it.
Yes. Okay, I just want to say a few things concerning the explanation. You see, we made mention of when those legislation, that when we are maybe electing our representative, we should know who we are putting there. Yes, I want to talk about that because it's important, but the way the Nigerian system is, sometimes it's not always be that the right person or the person that is supposed to be there is there, due to election not being fair and all that. And it affects the society. You see, where a representative of a constituency or of a place is supposed to stand in and say one or two concerning his place. See the person, sometimes the person is found sleeping, because most people go there for their personal interest, and a lot of things spoiled in the society.
Okay. All right. Are you done with your contribution? Okay, it appears maybe his network is not stable. So I think we'll proceed. When he's up, he can continue with his, when he's back, he can continue with his contribution. Or is there any other person that is hearing him?
No, ma.
Okay, okay. All right, maybe he's lost signals from his own end. Okay, so we are going on the executive arm of government, whose major role is to implement the laws. And you know, I want to say from the beginning that from the start that the executive arm of government has another very important role in affecting the society by the laws, the regulations, the policies that are made. Because when we started from the beginning, we reiterated the fact that beautiful laws, beautiful policies, if they are without implementation, they are beautiful for nothing. Now, the executive arm has the mandate of implementing this. When the executive make the laws, when the court pass their judgments, you know, and it remains just at the level of judgments, especially where it concerns the role of government, the society still remains in chaos. Implementation is one thing that sincerely shapes the society. So the executive arm, they enforce laws made by the legislatures. They also have the power to appoint federal officials, including ministers, ambassadors, and judges. They implement policies and programs of for national development. The chief executive serve, especially the president, serve as the commander-in-chief. They also serve as diplomats. They do the work of vetoing or sign into bill laws. The executive declares state of emergency, as we have one currently in Rivers State, where the president declares state of emergency. In Rivers State, they have such powers to appoint commissioners, to establish members. They grant pardons to people who are evicted, convicted, and are standing trial in court. Maintain public order, as to maintain law and order and ensure public safety. Economic management, foreign affairs, to negotiate treaties, agreements, international contracts. They are actually the heads of government, to serve as the head, providing overall leadership. Now, this person that is coming in, enter the class with your proper name, please. You are coming with techno over, it's not right. Enter with your name so that we recognize who you are properly. So now, don't forget, our essence of the class is to see how these arms of government manipulate the law in affecting the society. So the policies that are made by various agencies, remember that laws are not only made by the legislature. We make policies in the various organizations that are components of the government and the society. Now, imagine that you work as a civil servant, and in your immediate workplace, you have a document that regulates your organization. Now, when that document is made, and it's not made by the House of Assembly, let's look at some organizations have policy document that they call condition of service, or they have policy documents that regulate their organization. Those policy documents, when they are made, somebody has to enforce it. And it's not the law enforcement agent. It is the heads of the organizations that have the power to enforce, put it into use. So where that is not done, those policies will remain books and booklets. It will never have its impact on the society. So I think I want to pause at this point because I know we are coming from various organizations. I want us to be very practical on these issues. Let's not look at the level of government as in the executive governor of the state, and look at the president as the president of the federation. Let's look at policies in our various organizations and their implementation. So I want to give this room to 1, 2, 3 people. Explain to us how policies are made in your organization and how are they implemented. I want the class to speak on this issue. Whichever, even if it's a private organization that you first of all tell us the name of the organization where you are coming from. What's the name of their policy? How is it made and how is it implemented? So that we can relate to the impact of implementation on the society and our organization. Floor is open. I want 1, 2, 3 people. I'm waiting. We are waiting for the 3 volunteers that can speak to us.
Good morning, class. Good morning, ma.
Yes, welcome, Jeffet.
Yeah. My organization is Joseph Sawan Taka University, Makurdi.
Okay. Yeah.
As you, in the course of trying to throw light, you made mention of condition and scheme of service. Our organization deals with condition and scheme of service.
Okay.
Condition and scheme of service here is made by the university. From time to time is reviewed, and in the condition and scheme of service is used as I define criteria that one will meet to be employed and to be interviewed and employed. And then the same condition and scheme of service define certain rules of various departments, units, and directorates.
Yes.
So, in the same condition and scheme of service, staff are appraised. Define how staff will be appraised annually to be promoted, and then it define equally the staff training and retraining processes.
Wow.
So it is a policy document of Joseph Sawan Taka University, binding on all staff and staffers or staffers of the university. It is still in the same condition and scheme of service that certain committees are defined. If they are ailing staff of the university, a panel will be set, and then they will appear before the panel, and they will be judged or investigated or interrogated in accordance with the laid down procedure as enshrined in this condition and scheme of service. Where even that committee seems to be biased or goes arbitrary to what is there, anybody from the university, being it the parties concerned or an external person who is not actively involved in the case, who is a passive participant, may call the attention of the university vice chancellor through a written application that a clause of that condition and scheme of service is not used in that judgment, or correctly is used, but correctly or partially used. So it should be applied this way. So the attention, I haven't drawn that attention the committee, even if a report is submitted, they are called to review their judgment and handling. So, in brief, that is how Joseph Sawan Taka University operates. Thank you.
Okay, so let me ask one question before we leave you. Who are the people that are responsible for enforcement of this scheme of service in the university? Who are the officers responsible for this?
Primarily, the chief executive officer of the university, who is the university vice chancellor.
Okay.
He subdues sometimes the responsibility to various committees, as I earlier said. There are
Yes.
condition, there are A&PC, that is Appraiser and Promotion Committee, when it concerns promotions, appraisals and promotions. Then there's exams, regulation and misconduct committees. That one, when it concerns exams issues and misconducts. Then there are various committees like that. And so they are handled by those delegated through a committee to handle that and report back to the vice chancellor. So the implementation or enforcement purely is the work of the chief executive of the university or the
Wow.
university manager.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful contribution. I really wanted us to come down to our level so that we know that we all have a stake. You know, Jeffet talked about university vice chancellor, but I also want to trickle that down because implementation of policies is a duty of everybody.
Yes.
And that's where it affects you because, and that's why you cannot stand by and watch. When you stand back and watch as a student, as a member of the society, you are failing the society. Now, he gave an example of an investigative committee that has been set up based on the rules of the university. The decisions are made based on the scheme of service and the condition of service that has been passed, you know, and review. I gave the University Council and the University Senate. Sometimes there are Senate committees that are set up to figure out some of these review, and inputs are drawn from members of the university community generally. Brought to Senate, there may be a draft sent to the Senate to Council for approval and all. Now, do you know when it comes to implementation, it comes down to the head of department and the person that is even a unit head and below a unit head. When a policy is made, okay, let's say these policies concern promotion, the attitude to work, they also contain issues of welfare, they also contain, you know, your career progression. Let's look at attitude to work, for example. You are not even the head of department. They may be in a department, you are heading a unit, and under your unit, you have subordinates. It's not the vice chancellor that will come from the office of the vice chancellor to come and check attitude to work of people that are under you as a unit head. So the unit head also must be is expected to be abreast with the condition of service or the scheme of service of the university. And when somebody constantly comes to work late and the unit head keeps quiet, he's you know, he's contributing negatively to the university. So I want you to figure
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes.
I can no longer hear. It's the
Same thing
class too.
here. It's like she was thrown off.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Has anyone reached out to her? Maybe she's logged out. Let's know if we are to wait or log out as
Her network, she was thrown out, but she's trying to connect.
Okay, thank you.
Very careful, I do. Wait. Kaira. Kaira. Kaira, Kalato. Kaira. Wait.
Okay.
All right, now that we are back, let me apologize for the unplanned break, which was caused by network. So I can see Grace's hand up. Grace, can you have the floor?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll contribute. My organization actually makes use of the civil service rule, and when there are cases and there is a need to implement any of it is from that particular civil service rule. And then when laws are to be implemented, laws that are made, they have something they call top management team. They do meet like once in every month. And in the top management team, it consists all the HODs, the director of admin, the chief medical director, and CMAC and deputy CMAC. So they get to sit, and then issues are brought, maybe in terms of some policies that needs to be reviewed, coming from maybe a particular department. And in the case of maybe a decision is to be made in terms of reviewing a particular price, maybe for instance, a radiology department wants to review their prices on maybe their scan and other X-ray procedures. It will be brought before that top management team, and the review will be done. Will take effect, and then the admin department will now communicate it officially, and it gets copied to all the departments in the hospital. And so the implementation, that particular notice is posted, or it's communicated via hard copy to each of the departments. And then we also have, in the case where maybe there are issues rising from corrupt practices within the organization, it's also treated in that community, the top management and team, and we have representatives from promotion, appointment, and discipline, who are the custodian of the civil service rule handbook that they use. And when maybe a decision has been made and is a bit maybe out of the civil service rule, that particular head of the unit brings what is obtainable in the civil service rule. So most of the local maybe laws that are made, or some policies that are made, they still make use of the civil service rule as a guide. So even if it has to be something that has to be terminated and all that, they still look into the civil service rule so that they are properly guided, because that's like a custodian of the punishments, the recommendation, and then the welfare that its staff is to benefit from. And so that's some of the things that I noticed about my institution, how they implement policies. Thank you so much, Ma, for the opportunity to contribute.
Okay. Is there any other person, number 3 person, that can contribute? Anybody present that wants to contribute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, this is Joseph. My organization is Union Bank, and most of our activities are regulated by the CBN. And when it comes to the organization, there is COE from CBN, whatever they pass, get through COE of the bank. And they have directors. They have directors in charge of various departments. They will look at this bill or laws that are passed through. They also send it down to the various branches of the bank. Then the various branches of the bank also have people who checkmate these laws that are guiding the bank. We call there are processes we call SOM, a standard operating manual. It guides everything about what we do in the system. And there are people who look out for if actually people are following through this. They call them internal control. So these people are in the branches. Even in the branches, you have head, where if anything's go wrong or the law, it tries to ensure that we meet up with these laws. There are those other people that are on ground to check, are we actually following through what the bank has asked us to follow or not. So they are in various branches to ensure that we always follow this procedure or this rule or regulation that is being laid by the organization. Thank you.
Okay. All right. This is all good. I think at this point we have made a very good progress. We seem to understand at this point that both, apart from the judiciary, which has an exclusive role in enforcement or interpretation of the law, we have a share in what becomes of the law. Yes, in discussing the legislature, we also saw that we have some inputs that we can make. And apart from that, we can also, we are enforcers of the law too, implementers of the law in our own rights, both people that are speaking from the civil service and from the private sector or the organized private sector. We could see that, yes, the chief executive is there, but he cannot implement the law all by himself alone. We all have to pull our efforts together to be able to achieve the implementation of the law. And except law is implemented, we cannot successfully feel the impact of the law in our society. So, okay, I think Mr. Joseph, your mic is on, so you can put it off. So we can see that we all have a role to play. We have a part to play in bringing the law closer to the society and impacting the society with the instrument of the law. So we are seeing the contributions are also well noted and well appreciated. We are going to move on. We are going to skip the traditional legal system in Nigeria because we have touched this at the when we're dealing with law in the pre-colonial era. So we have touched on that, so we can just read that. So we now go towards the end of our lecture on this particular course, looking at the impact of the law on society. So which is going to be a recap on the lecture can see that from all angles, the law has various impacts, various laws that we have examined, various avenues that we have examined have their impact on the society. You also agree with me that without law, it's difficult for the society to operate, even though law has its own shortcomings, as we all complain, the impact of corruption, the impact of abuses that we see the implementers of the law exhibit, the slow nature of our law enforcement and the haphazard approaches that are put up by the agencies responsible for implementation, responsible for enforcement and all. One thing we cannot jettison is the fact that we need the law, and therefore the law has its own impact. And the impact is also both positive, it also has some negative impacts. So, but the positive seems to take a good proportion of the weight. And one of the positive impacts of the law on the society is the promotion of human rights. You know, we took time to look at the Constitution. Yes, sometimes we have not yet realized the full effects of the Constitution, but to a large extent, we have seen that without the law, human rights cannot be protected. You won't even have the rights, you know, but because the law has spelled out the rights, it's also difficult to jettison it. So we have the rights, and we also, the law has helped us to protect our rights. And there are a lot of international conventions that guarantee protection of human rights. We have the Nigerian Constitution. We have the various laws that, you know, talk about our rights as individuals. Then we look at the issues of gender equality. And gender equality is enshrined in the Constitution, the rights that forbid discrimination on grounds of gender, on grounds of race, on various grounds of economic background. So it also helps to put the two genders that we have at equal footing on several opportunities. The Constitution has guaranteed that. And there are several other laws in our systems that do that. You look at things like Child's Protection, Child's Rights Acts, you know, which has made provision for protection of the right of a child. For example, it prevents the child labor, prevents trafficking, it prevents abuse. And I think the Child's Rights Act is what has also given birth to agencies like NAPTIP, who are the active foot soldiers that are enforcing the Child's Rights Act, ensuring that a child is not abused, a child is not harassed. You know, trafficking, in fact, child trafficking has its own law itself that forbids trafficking of children and all. But sometimes when we talk about this child trafficking, you discover that some of these children seem to even love and appreciate what happens out there. But on the whole, the law does not promote that. So it shouldn't be seen that an adult or an elder is the one that is luring these children into practices by taking them to unknown places, introducing them to unknown practices that they did not willingly choose to do. So is one of the impact of the law. Without this law, anybody can move anybody to anywhere and do anything. Anybody can bring a child from the village, subject that child to hard labor, deprive the child of right to education, right to his health, sometimes even right to life. I've seen instances where children that are brought not only from the villages, sometimes from relatives to live with relatives. I have seen instances where sometimes they are thoroughly abused, and without the intervention of the law, then sometimes there's no headway as to how these children can be protected, because sometimes the members of the society, of the families that take on some of these children, have the economic power. So it's difficult for the parents of these children themselves to speak up, even when they realize that the rights of their children is abused. So we also have we've seen the impact of the law on even environments. We have seen laws like Environmental Impact Assessment Act, which has promoted sustainable development and environmental conservation. Then you look at laws that promote democracy and good governance, like the Electoral Acts, Freedom of Information Acts, and that promote good governance and also strengthen democracy in our time. And there are several other laws. You look at laws that we discuss several of the rights during the fundamental human rights, where you realize that it is even the law that guarantees you the right to be alive. Without that, anybody can get up who is stronger and kill anybody and walk away. It is the same law that also gives you the right to be respected because you are a human. Right to dignity of a human person is only achievable by the instrument of law. So it becomes difficult for somebody to just abuse your rights and walk away. So, but what are those things that are impacting negatively still by the instrument of law? You know, everything that has a positive side has also a negative side. You know, we also see that it is the same law that has rooted in things like same-sex marriage, inequality and discrimination, and has brought in some practices that are not acceptable by the society. And like I was explaining the role of the legislator, that once these things are slotted in by the law, you know, it becomes a very difficult thing to deal with, you know. So we are not saying that law in itself is wrong, but again, this takes us back to the role of the lawmakers, where they are not observant in the passage of these laws, and they are hasty without looking at it. We discussed extensively on this issue of same-sex marriage. If it were enshrined into law in Nigeria, by now, our hands would have been tied in whatever we see in that regard. But even people that want to practice same-sex marriage in Nigeria, even if they have such tendencies, they are doing it undercover. The law does not protect them. The society does not welcome it, and all of that. So nobody has the liberty to freely go about some of these things as far as our society is concerned. So, but when law takes its place on some of these issues, it's difficult to do away with it. So things like Terrorism Prevention Acts, it also suppresses freedom of speech. There are certain things that you cannot freely say it. You know, even when you felt if you had said it, it would be of it will positively affect, you know, the society. Now, corruption and impunity. Corruption and impunity, you know, we have laws on asset management, and sometimes the system has a way of manipulating the law to their own advantage. So to that extent, the law sometimes is blamed for, introducing some things that are not very healthy. And then finally, things like social injustice, which many people have blamed laws like the Land Use Act, where the law has given all land to the governor. Actually, it's not even to the government, it's to the governor himself. Although the governor cannot be separated from his office from his office. But if you read the Land Use Act, it has given land to the governor of a state, so long as the state is concerned. Now, the governor can, some governors have exploited this law by allocating a lot of lands to themselves because they are the one in charge. And they use their office to accumulate land, acquire land, some in the name of government, some in the name of government projects, which eventually, sometime through the back door, ends up in their own hands of people that are projecting them. So such laws, when they come in, and sometimes they become obsolete, and nobody is careful to look at the impacts or look at the proposed amendment, it becomes a challenge in the long run. So to that extent, it can be said to have a negative effect. Then you talk about cultural erosions. The issue of cultural erosions is not only limited to laws like the Nigerian Copyright Act. A lot of things that have been slotted into the laws have come to affect the culture. Culture in itself or tradition itself is not harmful. There's something in law that we call repugnancy tests. Laws, traditions, and cultures that are looked down upon or are harmful are the kind of traditions that we say they are repugnant to natural justice, that they are not healthy. Traditions like circumcision of females, traditions that some that are already eroded, some are no longer in practice. There are some cultures that even permit ladies to be, can I say, abduction or to be taken into marriage by force. Those are the kind of things that are repugnant to natural justice. They are not fair to human existence. So such cultures can be discouraged, So such erosions, where culture or tradition is very useful and is adding proper value to the system, certain laws come in and abolish some of those traditions, and at the end, it affects the society negatively. I made mention of I am coming to that. We are going to discuss that. So just be preparing your mind. We are going to discuss that together as a class before we close for the day, because I want us to pick on some of the laws that that have affected the society rather negatively. Yes, that the introduction of such has taken something away valuable from the society. We are going to discuss that before we close for the lecture, and then probably even close for the entire lecture, because the comparative analysis is what you can read on your own and understand. So I think let me just stop at this point and let's take that question. We have discussed the positive impact of the law. We are also looking at the negative impact of the law. The negative impact is so that it will prompt, it will create something in us to be able to critically look at way forward. How can this, how can we have a way forward on some of these practices? And I believe that where that happens, we also must have made significant inputs into this. So what are these areas that we consider law to have also impacted negatively in the society, and what are those laws? I can see Mr. Ogu's hand is up.
Hello, ma. Good afternoon. Good morning, ma.
Good morning. Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
my is just a question, ma. Please, I want to ask a question, and it's very important, and I want you to answer and give me a solution to it, ma.
Okay.
Okay, ma. I have a neighbor around my area that happened to be maltreating the boy that was staying with them. So we got to know that the boy is not even related to any of them, but they are from the same village. It's not related to either the man or the woman, but they are from the same village. So they took the boy and they brought the boy to the town, to city. So something happened like last week, and the boy, according to what the boy told us, he actually stole. He stole his madam's she makes plantain chips. So he stole one of it and he ate. And the man that happened to be his uncle actually molested him, beat him so much, and he used a knife and cut his neck from the back. Hello, ba? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
He almost killed the guy. They have to rush the guy to the nearby hospital and do a minor surgery on the guy's neck. So now, what can we do for such a boy? Are we going to? He's a small boy, he cannot talk, he cannot speak for himself. So when it comes to things like this, is someone going to, fight for him and like his right to be activated? What can we do for the boy to have to, as in, how will I even put it, Goni? What can we do
No.
for this boy, man?
Okay, it's understood. People that have been in this class, there was a day we discussed something like this similar. So I want to test your ability to recall so that you can answer before I come. Is there anybody that was here when we spoke with treating the fundamental human rights and we talked about an issue like this? Yes, Grace, you can speak up. Your hand is up.
Okay, thank you so much, ma. You said
Yes, so Mr. Ogu, you can off your mic so that you listen to her.
Okay.
Okay, ma, you said in an issue like this, because you said like for us that are practicing this undergoing this course, that when we see the rights of people, especially the underage, is being abused, that we shouldn't do nothing about it, that we should take step towards it, because the safety of the society is also our responsibility. So we can actually report to the necessary authority, like maybe police, for instance, or bring it up to an organization that is in charge of crime that has to do with the right of children being taken from them, that has to do with it, which is you mentioned NAPTIP. So these are some of the things I got in that particular class. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Oh, wow. That's very beautiful because we particularly address an issue like this. Now, okay, yes, Mr. Jeffers.
Okay. Good morning, man. Good morning, class.
Yes, yes.
I love the contribution. I was not in class, but on that day that you explained this, but I believe that was discussed indirectly today. We're saying about laws, how
Yes.
our organization makes laws and how they are to be implemented. And in the course of responding, we were made to understand that various respondents made it that we are all active participants in the implementation of the law. So on this issue, without studying this course, you know that the fundamental human right of that child has been trembled or tampered with. So it's not for you to be confrontational, to go fight that man physically.
Yeah.
You make legislation, you make the law take its course, because it is established we have child right, and the value of what the child stole, consider that he stole from the woman, was not value to his life. So that is already a threat to the life of that child. And then the law lacks no jurisdiction to entertain that. So you, just as the previous respondent or speaker said, you approach the law enforcement to intervene into the case. If you don't want to openly get yourself involved as a member of that same community or you're close to, to some extent, the failure of the law is because of sentiment of he's my friend, he's somebody I know, he's a close relative. When the law is to take its course, some persons will take out of annoyance. The situation will come. They know that the law has the powers to entertain that. They will take you to court. When they come back and relate with themselves, they say they want to make out of court settlement in such instance. So the child whose relations are not very close, if it is left in the hands of those persons, they may decide to poison him one day and then eliminate him. So if that kind of physical assault or molestation or bullying is meant on that boy, it is good to report to law enforcement agents to take decisive action over the matter. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, that's quite commendable. Let me come in at this point. Yes, first of all, I appreciate the fact that we are coming to terms with the fact that every one of us is a key stakeholder in implementing the laws or enforcing the laws for a better society. All of this is for the overall well-being of the society. Now, practically speaking, there are a number of dimensions to this issue. Like Mr. Jeffers said, some people don't want to be known. They don't want to be projected in issues like this. And then for that, there are established agencies that have the mandatory power, statutory powers to prosecute issues of this kind. Number one is NAPTIP. So, Mr. Ogbu, you can quietly go to NAPTIP office, give them full credentials of what has transpired. They know what to do. They know how to privately go about, gather their information, investigate, and prosecute these matters. You can also go to Human Rights Commission, and you can let them know that you don't want to be known. That is where you don't want to be known. Now, you can go to Human Rights Commission, submit the credentials and the details of what transpired. There are trained lawyers that are employed by government, and there are trained workers there who can quietly do investigation and also intervene in the affairs of this young child. But the worst thing that can happen is for us to keep quiet over some of these issues. Like I said, and one of the take home that we take from this course is the fact that we must recognize that people have rights. Now, this child's right to life is violated to an extent. There's an attempted murder on his person. These are criminal offenses. And besides the law, I emphasize in this class that, see, when it comes to the issue of children, when we're discussing this issue that I brought in, the issue of NAPTIP, I said there was always I've taught different classes in different programs on these issues. And sometimes people bring up sentiment. They say, okay, the life that they are giving this child, even though if he's not going to the same school of the person with the children of the person that took him, he's better off than where he came from. So if he must insist on having equal rights, and he's sent back to the village, his life will be worse off. Now, I'm not fighting with the issue of you are not putting these children in the same school with your own children. But I frown at the fact that these children's basic rights, basic sources of livelihood are not provided. I don't believe that a child that is in the village will die because he's in the village. Because even if this child is an orphan and you don't have the heart to take this child, return this child to where you took the child. And God, that is the owner of everything, will know how to sustain this child and come and kill the child. So it's important. I came across a situation like this where a member of my church went to visit people in the hospital and discovered a child was on admission in a coma for a very long time. And one of the parents was there, a helpless parent was just by the side of the bed of this child. So this woman also is a medical worker. She took interest in this case, and found out from this woman. She said she went there time and again, and this child remained unconscious. So she sought to find out what's the line of treatment that is being carried out on this child. And she discovered from the parent, I don't know, I think the father, that this child needed neurosurgery. And that neurosurgery was not done around Benue State here. The child needed to be taken to Abuja for neurosurgery. And what was the cause of this child's ailment? The child was brought from the village and was given to a relative in town, in Makurdi town, whom the boy was living with. So according to reports, this boy did something, and the woman whom the child was living with, the woman pushed the child, and the child fell and hit his head on the floor tiles and went unconscious. And when this happened, it's been a little long. I can't remember what happened from there to the hospital, but somehow the child was brought to the hospital, whether it was by the same woman, and the woman simply made a call to the father, the parents of this boy who were in the village and did not have money, to come over and stay with their child on admission. And when they came and stayed on admission with the child, she never came around, she never paid the bills, she never showed up. And that was where this child remained in an unconscious state. All the diagnosis and everything was made, and the child was referred for neurosurgery in Abuja that required millions. And these parents were helplessly just sitting by the side of the child. So when this woman drew my attention, she said, in this situation, what do you do? I'm a legal person. What do you do? I said, okay, fine. Now, the first thing is to get civil society involved, get the police involved. So together we reported the matter. I called somebody that is an activist that's in there, that runs a non-governmental organization, because there were two dimensions to this issue. Now, taking the woman up was one. Another, mobilizing support for this child's treatment was another. So I had to bring in a civil society organization so that these two angles could be taken on. So when they came in, they got the police who went and arrested this woman, and they began to source for financial interventions and support for this child's treatment to be taken care of. So a lot of things happen in our society now. People are there who are the voice. Even if you yourself, you are afraid for your own life, I want to assure you that there are other people there who have volunteered to speak for the helpless. And you can, file in such reports, and you could indicate that you don't want to be known, and it will be carried out. At least you have done your own part. In the situation where this woman, she didn't keep quiet. She was concerned because she's also a parent. She reported the matter, and the matter was taken on, and a lot of steps were taken, because leave the parents of this child alone. They were already intimidated by the woman that was keeping this child, because she was financially more buoyant, and she was also a member of the family, so an extended member of the family. So our cultural sentiments of this will become a family issue, this will become a generational issue, that years will roll. What if they prosecute this woman and they send her to jail, and years will roll, and it will be a family story that these people took this one to court and all of that, But someone's life is being taken, or 90% taken, because this child will undergo neurosurgery if eventually that money was made available. We cannot guarantee that he may survive that surgery. We can't guarantee that he will come out of that surgery and still live a very normal life. So where his life is not even complete when he's out of the surgery, you could say that his right to life has been tampered with. So it is very wrong for us to keep quiet. There are some people that are statutory mandated by the law to prosecute such issues, and there are some civil society organizations and activists that can speak up on some issues. So you can liaise with them, you can collaborate with them, you can make such reports. So I think this is my suggestion. You can either bring in civil society organizations that are courageous to take on some of these issues, or go to Human Rights Commission, file a complaint, or go to NAPTIP, whose primary duty by government is to take on such issues. And I think you must have also contributed positively to the society, because when this matter is taken up, I want to assure you that any other person, onlooker, may not want to attempt this kind of a thing. That's where you are now contributing to the society at large. It will serve as a deterrent. The way you keep quiet, you can be sure that this same family will go and take on another person's child and come and kill the child. Or another person will gain courage and, do the same. The way the law take on such a person, when it start happening, somebody may draw another person's attention and say, see, when it happened in my neighborhood, police came and arrested this person. Do you know that singular arrest, even if it's not prosecuted, the person is already, it has already put fear on other people who may want to attempt such a thing. I don't want to be arrested. So if the child is too stubborn, I'll take the child back to the parents or whoever gave me this child. I don't want to get myself involved with the police. I don't want NAPTIP to come and begin to harass me, move me here and there. So I think that's my contribution. I don't know if Mr. Ogbu is there.
Yes, ma, I'm here, ma. I'm here.
Okay, I don't know if you have gotten something from all the contributions.
Yes, very well, ma. Very well, ma. Thank you, ma.
Your hand is still.
Okay.
Thank you, ma.
All right. Okay, so can we go back to the last question that I put? And let's try to contribute, because this may likely be the rounding up of our lectures. What do you consider to be, in your own assessment, what can you say, or how can you say the law has negatively impacted on the society, and what law? You may not be able to cite the law, but you've seen an aspect of law that has rather taken something away from the society, so that we can discuss together and trying to wind down. So I'm waiting for contributions. And remember that participation is a key aspect of this course.
Hello, good morning, ma.
Yes, Elizabeth, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Ma, thank you for the lecture so far. We have been following and we are getting some new knowledge on the law. I want to talk about the negative impact, and I want to bring it down to our society, or let me say our culture and tradition. I want to talk about discrimination and inequality. And I want to speak on the area of certain laws or tradition that have been made over marriages. And then can I say that has to do with inheritance. Sometimes the law is not always favoring the women. I want to speak on that, where they say that a woman is not supposed to inherit her late father's properties because she's a woman. Then the other side also, they said a woman is not supposed to partake on the late mother's, can I say, resources that she has left behind because she's a woman. So I want to talk about this negative impact of law in the society affecting the women as, can I use the word gender? So that is one of the negative impacts I want to talk about.
Okay.
And then can I also say the way forward, or I
Yes.
should hold on?
Yes. No, you can go ahead.
I know there are a lot of negative impacts if we continue, but I want to say that the way forward is if every citizen can have equal protection policies, I think the society will be fair for every one of us. Because sometimes when I find myself in the midst of people talking about laws and gender inequalities, I always say, even though I try to speak on the positive side of the women, I always say nothing favors women. And I don't want to go in much details of it, but I think somehow the law is always not favoring the women. Hello?
Hello, class.
Yes, you can hear.
Oh, okay, she's logged out already.
Okay, before she comes, I think in the course of you trying to respond to this question, I was seeing you deviate. If I am not the only person seeing this, I was seeing you deviating from the question. I think customary laws, or let's say cultural norms, that are generally they are applicable to a particular society or group of persons. It's not what is targeted here. What she's targeting and what we are trying to look at is those laws generally that they have a binding principle on every citizen in Nigeria, in the country that we are looking at. If you say that maybe in my culture, women are the ones that even possess, in some certain culture, it's even women that share, that possess the sharing of inheritance. Like when you come to the Jukun people, which I have an affiliate, the relationship with them, it is them, the ladies, that share properties. When you even go to, I think some part of Idomans, the ladies, because they are not going to, if they die, they are not going to be buried in their father's house or their husband's house. So they are part and parcel of that their family. They make binding decisions. I was in Otukpa when issues of inheritance come. It was this lady that was the first child of the family that sat as heir apparent and was distributing the inheritance of the parents. So such laws, when you present them, they have no effect on other society or cultures. So we are talking applicability of the generally accepted laws of our country. So I don't know if she will be back. Okay, she's back. So that is where I was perceiving you deviating from the main question. But anyway, she's the one that presented the question. So we'll hear from her. Thank you.
Truly, I
Sorry.
understand it. She said you can give example of the law, and if you can't, you can say. That is what I actually presented. I'm not speaking about a particular tradition or culture, but if you look at it critically, that is what is happening in the society, Nigeria as a whole. If you go into other people's culture or tradition, that is what is being practiced. That's what I'm trying to say. That is if I understand the question. And the way forward, I'm
Okay, let me call it. Sorry, Asom. Can I come in? Let me come in. So put off your mic. Let me come in. Sorry,
Okay.
I momentarily was thrown out, but I'm back. So what I'm saying is some of the statutory, some of the laws that are general laws that are passed that have negative effect on our society. Now, I mentioned the issue of Land Use Act. It's a law that governs the issue of land. And it has a negative impact because the governor has the power to take over any land, not for personal use anyway, but he can enter upon any land, pay compensation, and if the land is not developed, he can say it's for overriding public interest. So even if you were an indigene of that place and you had lived on that place for so long, you own a vast land, you didn't develop it for anything, the government can come and take it over and for overriding public interest. So some of these laws, because they did not go into detail to specify certain things, government can take advantage of it and say maybe they is either angry with somebody there and they wants to go and take over that person's property by force. They can just start that they want to do a public project that is for overriding public interest for a project. They may just go and clear a site there, take it over, put it on record that government has taken over this site to do. Sometimes you not even see the full project coming up, but it has taken that land away from such a person. So those are the kind of things that I'm trying to see. We have a lot of laws that are passed, and some have one negative effect or the other on the society in one way or the other. So because if we talk about issues of tradition, traditions are not the categories of laws that I'm referring to here. Traditions are acceptable by people in various communities and they differ from community to community. You know, the issue of gender discrimination, the law itself has even forbidden it. So whoever is practicing gender discrimination, you know, on a general note is wrong. But then again, when you come down to custom, certain customs have given leverage to certain genders compared to others. If not, the constitution, the provisional constitution has clearly made a provision against discrimination. So you are not supposed to discriminate against a woman because she's in the same class, so she shouldn't be awarded a certain class or degree, or she shouldn't be given a certain job because she's a woman and all of that. Now, but again, like I said, our systems also recognize custom. So when it is issues that are customary issue and a certain custom does not permit certain things, and that thing is not against the rights of an individual, you know, there's a kind of a mix, a little mix there. We must separate it very clearly. Let's look at issues of inheritance, for example. The law itself, looking at the law of inheritance in Nigeria, has provided that it's only when somebody dies and has written a will that his estate can be administered based on the established law. Where it is not the case, it is the custom of that person that determines how his inheritance will be administered. The way he writes a will, that will is already registered in the courts. So it will be dealt with according to the Wills Act. Is what he has stated that will be done once the procedure is followed. But if he dies without writing a will, it is his custom that applies. So now you have to go back to the custom. If the custom says it is children should share inheritance equally, irrespective of their gender, like is done in Yoruba land, it will be done. If it is in a society like in Benue, where the thief culture in particular says that inheritance of a dead man, if the father, it should be his male children that will inherit it. It's what we apply. Nobody can go and cry foul that is a discrimination, because this man died intestate without writing a will. So it's his custom that we apply. So if the custom now gives, you know, the first child, like the Yoruba custom, the first child remains the first child, whether she's a male or is a female, or whether it's a female or a male. So where it is a female, she's still the one that decides what happens. That's the custom. So any man, Yoruba man that dies without a will, that's what will happen. If he wrote a will, it's what is in the will that we apply. So I was trying to size us up to areas where we understand certain established laws that have given rooms for certain things. If you look at something like the Electoral Act, for example, you know, it has given right to certain things that politicians manipulate to take advantage of the society. So that those are the kind of things I want us to avert our minds to. So if anybody can quickly think of such that has rather impacted the society negatively in a way. You know, if we're talking about societies in the West, in the Western countries like UK, US, we already talked about child's rights, where you cannot even beat your child, and children grow up to be very wild. If you size up some of those societies, you discover that a lot of destitutes, a lot of rehab homes, because you cannot discipline a child. That's the negative impact of the law, and it's already law. So there's nothing you can do about it. If you beat your child, they'll come and take the children away from you. Here, it has not been, it's not like that, but there are certain laws that quietly, you know, have made giving room for certain things that are not completely favorable to the society. Okay, Grace, I can see your hand up.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma, for the opportunity. What I there are some laws like that has to do with tax that get passed, and you know, sometimes you just see some unnecessary deduction from the bank and you're just wondering what is happening. But you address it in the course of the lecture that we're having, that most time people don't get to participate in the process because they don't know that they also have a right to oppose such kind of laws, you know, by getting a number of people, civil society, and a number of people that are knowledgeable in this area to be present when such meetings are being held in regards to laws that are to be created and established. And you also spoke about aspects that are representative. Most time, they are not conversant with the custom. They are not conversant with the norms in our society and a country as a whole. So someone can actually grow abroad, for instance, and then the person is not really conversant with the things that happen here in the country. Maybe he gets to maybe 40 years and all that. He's not interested in politics. He comes back to the country and they're able to lobby in the community. Maybe he gives money or he's connected to some influential politician in that particular community. And as a result, he's able to like get the tickets, you know, win the primaries and eventually emerge as the representative of that particular community. And then when he gets there, when some laws are being created, he doesn't really participate actively, not conversant with the laws of the land, like, because like you told us that it's actually generated from within. It's actually
Please, Jeffed, put off your mic. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Grace.
You told us that the laws is actually created from what we have from within, and some other and that comes from outside, you know, is meshed together and presented to us as law. So someone that has been influenced very well by the Europeans, by the West, can be silent about a particular law that will have a significant impact on the society. And then he's quiet, or maybe he's not, he's sleeping, like somebody mentioned earlier in the process. And then this thing is passed. At the end of the day, it has a negative impact on the society. So one, I think is corruption. Then secondly, the rights, the people don't really, maybe we should have a lot of sensitization program so that people are informed about their rights in participating when laws are being created, so that they can actively participate, from either from their representatives, like the chiefs and all that, having input, sending their input in regards to this, or maybe having the society like working through the civil society organization. So like a wake-up call, whether you're an auditor, you're in the finance, any aspect, and you just feel, okay, these are not this is not going to go right by the time it's passed into law, so that we speak out, we get to participate actively in the process of the making of the law. So these are some of the things that I have to say, ma. Thank you so much, ma.
All right. So thank you so much. I think I can see Jeff's hand up. Is it a current hand or before? You can bring down your hand, Grace, so that you.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Jeff, is your hand up?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's me.
Okay, it's still morning anyway. I want to contribute to these laws. I think the law, the fundamental human rights of freedom of movement is equally is has its advantage, but the disadvantages are not ruled out. So I'm talking on the side of its disadvantage. The freedom of movement has inflicted a lot of issues on us, particularly to the current situation in Nigeria now. You see the inflow of headers, farmers, headers who are now clashing with farmers, and bandits from all over the country is in regards to this freedom of movement. Yes, if there were no, the law do not provide for this. When you see these people who appears to be aliens to an environment, you report them to law enforcement agents. But the freedom of movement and freedom of movement has allowed, provide for them as nomadic rearers, they can go anywhere. It's one of the issues that was contending with the prohibition of open this open grazing law. Some activists who are of the interest of the headers came to oppose this, that it will be impaired in with the freedom of movement. If you say Fulanis or cattle layers should not graze, roam about, you'll be impairing on their fundamental human right. But if the law is not exclusively providing for movement, but I went on again to say if there is a law that guarantee freedom of movement, and when coffees are being imposed, is that not impeding on the right of freedom of movement of citizens? But as at that, because the government, it could be the governor of state or the president, they have the overriding power for any reason to come up with this. And then the issue of security threats, they could not rise to challenge this. And these people will continue to move about. I see on that side, on this side that I am talking about, the law, it is silence on when and where freedom of movement should be applied is part of what has caused Nigeria this situation now. And equally, I want to see the freedom of okay, there's a citizenship or indigenship act or law. That's at the point they say if a person who is not a native of Benue State has resided in a particular place in Benue here
Okay.
for up to 15 years, the person possesses the right to be recognized as indigene of this place. And you see the inflow of these people. Today in Benue, there are some Hausa persons. This place is supposed to be purely, though we have the Jukum, but they are not Hausas. Purely a place reserved for the thieves and other indigenous tribes here. But today, because some Hausa men have overstayed here, you see in politics they are recognizing people like Alhaji Garba Baba and host of others, AGB, and in Makodi local government, the clerk of the house is designated, is allotted, the position of that is given purely to the houses because of inclusion, because one, maybe they form a political bloc that when they hold sway with you, you are likely to win. So this the indigenship law has made it that today the governor of Nasarawa State is a Fulani man, and there's no outright Fulani settlement that you can think of in Nasarawa State, but because he migrated, stayed
Okay.
there over time, and
All right.
he's doing. Hello, is she zoom out?
I think so.
Okay. Or she's not yet back. I think those, to me, those are the laws I've seen that they actually provide for the freedom of a citizen, but in other ways have impaired with progress and development of this nation.
Joseph,
As
you, now
regard
your contribution now pursue mommy for class. So.
That's very true. Your contribution is valid, actually. Looking at it, it has a lot of disadvantage.
Okay, so I think Jeffet,
yes, ma'am. You were about to make an input, so I rest my case at that point.
okay, all right, that's fine. I think and we have done well, and this is just to prompt our minds. We cannot exhaust discussions on even this aspect. But the aspect that Jeffed raised, I think that is the kind of thinking I was looking for and Gracie's own. Now we are talking of a constitutional loophole that has brought the whole nation to a position of chaos. where freedom of movement is guaranteed and is an issue of law. So people are allowed to move from one part of the country to another and to even settle anywhere, own property anywhere, so long as it's in the country. So you can now see somebody who is coming with an ill intention, exploiting that aspect of the law negatively. Now, if it were not a constitutional provision, you migrate into another person's community and you are causing trouble, the people will get up and fight you and drive you away. But now that it has become an issue of law, if you try that, it's a violation of somebody's rights. So those are the kind of things, so that it prompts our thinking, and it gives us room so that when we have an opportunity, we are looking at the impact of the law on the society. So we've seen the positive, we are also seeing the negative. In conclusion, we are not saying law is bad. In conclusion, we are saying that without the law, we can't even live. It will be a complete survival of the fittest, and it will simply not work. But at the same time, it calls for caution on the part of our legislators, so that when you are legislating, be careful how you coin the law. Look at the pros and the cons and look at the details. Do not just be in a hurry to do cut and paste, because many times this is what has brought us problem, and try to situate the law in the society. Situating means connect it with what's obtainable in our society and what will be good for us. It may be good for somebody else. Okay, that freedom of movement may be guaranteed in other countries that are very strict on issues of security. Now, people can move harmlessly, but look at a society that the security lapses are overwhelming the whole nation. You permit this kind of freedom of movement, and people carry arms, move from one community to another, and they are harming people and still claiming that they have the right to move from one state or one place to another, and they have the right to acquire immovable property. They have the right even to stay. So you could see how negatively that law has rather impacted. So in legislating, we must ensure, and this does not only apply to the federal laws, while we are legislating even in our various organizations, we must be careful to ensure the peculiarities of our organizations, and don't just do a cut and paste. Look at what is applicable and what is practicable in our organization, so that the overall impact on the society will be positive. Law is supposed to impact the society positively, but where it is the various stakeholders don't handle their own aspects well, it ends up taking a negative toll on the society. So I think at this point we have actually stayed on the lecture for almost 3 hours today, and we've made good progress. So we are going to stop this lecture, the overall lecture here. We are not going into tomorrow again. You are just left with the comparative analysis of what's obtainable in other jurisdictions and what is obtainable in ours, which is something you can easily read of. Now, let me make this quick announcement before we sign out. I've already pasted an assignment right here and on the page. Somebody also migrated it to our page. Now, if you are registered for this course, you are not yet added to that group. You should make efforts to reach out to Amos so that you'll be added to the SST 717 group. And if you are there, you will also find the materials of the course on the page already uploaded on the page. And I've also uploaded an assignment. Our assessment in this course is over 30. Now, your assignment takes 10%. The 20 marks are going to be for tests. And because we are doing a virtual class, our tests may likely come up during the exams. We are yet to conclude arrangements, but when arrangements are concluded, because I don't believe in giving only assignments, I believe in tests too. So by the time we are doing 100% virtual lectures for the first time, So we are working on modalities of achieving this, but you know that your exams is going to be an on-site, a physical class. So we may likely take our tests over 20, either after your exams or before exams. Either way, but just get yourself prepared. And this assignment is going to be submitted in a week's time, which is next week. I don't think it will be too much for you. So when you do your assignment, you submit it on our WhatsApp page with your name, registration number. I'll pick it from there and make sure the assignments come in. Anyway, well, let's see. What's the best option? Or I'll send you my email address. Send it to my email or send it to my private WhatsApp so that nobody goes to copy another person's work on the page. And because two people can be working in the same organization and may want to talk about the same organization, so I wouldn't stop. Same time for people that have been active and participating in this class. I don't think okay. Yeah, I think I agree. My number is already, I'm a member of that group, so you can pick my number there. That's my WhatsApp group. So I think it's safer sending your assignment to my private WhatsApp number. So it's already there. So Jeffet, what's your question? Jeffet, we are with you.
My question will be hinging on this thing, customary law or on land use.
Yes.
If you belong to a community and a community name, the name the community is recognized and identified with, and then there's a suit on land, a suit related to land, the community together take it up, and then so then the representative of that community, not the council, some individuals that they delegate them to be in court,
Yes.
listen to the proceeding, and made a kangaroo arrangement and then swap the name, the original name of the community that is in court, and adopt a different name with the motive that when that judgment is meant in their favor, that is my thought anyway, in their favor, they will possess the judgment instead of the community to possess the land, a certain family line. Hello?
Yes, we are with you. It's like your network was fluctuating.
Okay. Yes, a certain family line will be possessing that. So when you want to go to court to reclaim, go to court now to make things straight, is it by affidavit of rejoinder or is by what? That's my
Okay,
question.
so that you are talking about the other members of the community now.
Yes.
Who are shortchanged that want to go in and make things correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so well, you know, every situation is a little bit different, but will they be going through the same lawyer or are they going to engage another lawyer? Because if it is an issue, if you are represented by a lawyer and the lawyer is briefed And at the end, he now connives with some members again to shortchange the community, and they file the process in the name of some selected few. Now, let me find out, do you want to file a different suit? Of course, it has to be. You have to file a fresh suit against that faction, because you cannot use the same suit again. It's now, you are a different party entirely.
I understand.
It's not the same suit. It's when it is the same suit, you want to either introduce new facts or bring in other dimensions to it, that you can bring in counter affidavits or other issues. But now you are filing a fresh suit against that faction that emerged illegally. So you are suing them completely different, to you making definite prayers before the court, either to restrain them from parading themselves as original representatives of the courts and all. So by the time you get a restraining order to restrain them, it's a different suit you are going to come entirely. But that can actually be sorted out by your lawyers that you engage. So when you do your proper briefing, you brief your lawyers properly, they'll be able to tell you what to do. But I think the right process is to file a fresh suit seeking a restraining order against that faction.
It's all right.
Okay, Grace's hand is up. Okay. Let me hear you, Jeffet.
Okay. I was thinking, when you file a restraining order, then you rejoin the case. So in order not to lose out from the earlier the issue that is on ground, because I was thinking, when you file this restraining order, or you file a fresh case against them, you'll be tempted to be in court with two persons, the kangaroo group, and then the issue,
I'm thinking that some of the things you want here, they should be done privately.
The group,
because those kind of details requirements. Yes, the detailed requirements are dependent on each case, and each case is treated on its own merits. So we cannot conclude some of those things on the platform. You can either talk with a lawyer privately on the right procedures to do. So I think let's take orders so that we don't stay here too long. I think everyone's spoken today. Let me give him that hand.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, my question is on the basis of the assignment. Someone asked me privately that what about those that are not working in an organization or have not worked in an organization before? How would they now be able to? They say I should bring it up here.
Yes, they will adopt any organization of their choice. I want to situate the assignment in an organization. So even if you are not working, you can adopt an organization, make findings about them, and write the assignment based on the organizational experience.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Grace, your hands.
Thank you so much, Ma. Ma, I want to find out if you're the one that is going to be taking us legal issue in social standard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ma.
All right, so have a good day. I think we can close for today and wait for the assignment. Then keep your fingers crossed and always keep in touch with the group so that any information, we find it available on the group. So have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Ma.
She's off the class. Then is it the assignment you posted?